there is one matter I would like to explore with Mr. Pike in relation to the document he's just been shown. I don't know whether, sir, you'll give me permission to do so.
Which document is that?
It's the attendance note of the conference with Mr. Treverton Jones.
And do you want to analyse page...
I obviously don't have the bundle that you have, sir.
No, the page within the document.
The page within the document is it's the first page, sorry, it's the front page, the record of attendance.
All right, yep.
I don't know whether it's possible to have the top of that document on screen so everyone can follow. It's, I think, page 7 of tab 4 of Mr. Pike's bundle. I don't know whether the technician doesn't have the bundle. So do you have a copy in front of you?
I do, but if you don't particularly want to give you my bundle, because then I haven't got it.
I can hand up a clean copy, actually.
All right.
It's just the top of the page.
Thank you. Yep, just get to it.
It's just the top part. Thank you very much. Mr. Pike, this is an attendance note made by your firm on the 13th of May 2010, is that right?
Correct.
And if we just look at the top of it, as I say, we've got client there. That's your client, isn't it? News Group Newspapers Limited.
Correct.
And just can you help us with the number there, 8085? What does that refer to?
It's just a client number.
That's the client. That's an internal reference to a client number. I see. And then we look at matter, and we have a number of names there. We've got, for example, Sky Andrew. That was the claim brought by Mr. Andrew, Sol Campbell's agent, against News Group Newspapers. Is that right?
That's right.
That's a claim for the unlawful interception of his voicemails.
Correct.
Right. And Vanessa Perencel, similarly a claim against your client?
That's correct.
And Nicola Phillips?
I should add that in relation to Vanessa Perencel, that's not part of the phone cases, case series, as it were.
But she made a complaint about that?
No, she didn't. She made a complaint about a breach of privacy, which did not involve phones.
But it was made at that time?
The claim was alive at that time, yes.
And Nicola Phillips was also a complaint about voicemail interception?
Correct.
And Andy Gray?
Correct.
David Davies?
Yep.
George Galloway?
Correct.
Kelly Hoppen?
Correct.
Let me ask you about the Sienna Miller reference, if I may. It's right, isn't it, that Miss Miller, we know, issued proceedings against News Group Newspapers for the interception of her voicemails as well?
That's right.
And you were involved as acting on behalf of News Group Newspapers in that litigation, weren't you?
That's right.
Can you recall that the first step taken in Miss Miller's action was a Norwich pharmacal order, wasn't it?
I didn't know that at the time, but I learned that it was what happened, yes.
And that was a route that some of the hacking victims took, which was to apply to the Metropolitan Police for an order and not to notify News Group Newspapers before doing so.
I think that's the route taken by one or two, yes.
And that once the documents had been obtained, then a claim was made, a letter of complaint was sent to News Group, and then a proceedings or a claim form were issued against News Group Newspapers. Is that right?
Correct.
Were you aware that the application for the documents from the Metropolitan Police was made on the 1st of June of 2010?
I wasn't aware of that at the time, but I subsequently became aware of that, yes.
So you're aware. And are you aware of the other features of that application, namely that it was made anonymously? The letters AZP, do they ring a bell?
No, they don't. I don't think so. No.
And that it was, will you accept from me, it was made anonymously?
Okay.
And it was heard in private?
If you say so. I wasn't there.
And that application was made on the 1st of June. That was some 3 weeks after this meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And as far as News Group's concerned, do you recall that the first time any mention was made that there was a complaint by Miss Miller was on the 6th of September, some 4 months later?
That may be right. I haven't researched this.
Would it be helpful for me to show you the letter before action that was sent by Atkins Thompson?
I'm prepared to accept it. That's what you say, yes.
You see, what I don't understand, Mr. Pike, is how on the 13th of May did you know about a claim from Miss Miller that didn't even exist at the time?
I don't know the answer to that question at the moment. I could go back and see if I can find the answer to it. Clearly there's a reason for it.
Are you saying that you really have no recollection as to how Sienna Miller's name and a claim was referred to in the record of attendance on the 13th of May?
As I just said, I don't have recollection sitting here today as to why that's the case.
Presumably it's not terribly difficult to go back to file 730 and see where it starts.
I'm sure I can, yes.
Yes. Right.
Well, perhaps you can do that, Mr. Pike.
With permission of Linklaters, I will.
And you have no recollection. You see, the point is that at that time, the only people that knew about the fact that Miss Miller's voicemail had been hacked into and that she was going to complain about it were Miss Miller's solicitors and the police.
Look, I don't know
We'll have
the
to
answer.
see, won't we?
I don't know
Let's
the
find
answer.
out the answer.
Fine.
Let's find out the answer.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Roger Davis, is there any issue of privilege? I'm not so sure there is as to this. No, right. You're not very far away, Mr. Pike. In Lincoln's Inn Field, that is.
That's right.
I'd be very grateful. You took when you gave evidence.
Understood.
Mr. Pike, you're being recalled to deal with a narrow point, namely the attendance note, which is dated the 13th of May 2010, on which we see the name of Sienna Miller, and she has been allotted a file number 730. And you've provided us with a number of documents which indicate the relevant sequence of events. And as well, you provided us with a chronology. May we just deal with that? Is this right, that on the 26th of May of last year, you received a telephone call from an Emma Haraway at the MPS, who was informing you that an urgent application was being made, which she thought the News of the World should be put notice of, and this related to a decision called Marshall, where applications of this sort may in certain circumstances be notified to interested parties. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
But at that stage, of course, you didn't know who was making the application.
No,
Is that right?
That's right.
Then I think you tried to telephone her back, but she was on the phone. You then received an email from Emma Haraway on the same day, apologised for not returning your call, and she stated that solicitors had raised objections to putting News of the World on notice, and it had been agreed that the court would decide that point. Is that correct?
That's also correct.
Now, you then received an email from Sarah Webb of Russell Jones and Walker on the 28th of May, notifying you that the MPS was making an application on behalf of Sienna Miller, and although not attaching to that email, you subsequently received, I think on the 1st of June, the MPS's letter dated the 26th of May addressed to Mr. Mulcair, which related to the MPS's being the subject of the disclosure application being brought by Sienna Miller. Is that correct?
That's also correct.
So you or your firm then opened a file in relation to Sienna Miller. That was on the 3rd of June. Can you just explain the way files are opened by your firm? Obviously a file number is allotted and it's put on a system. But can you just expand on that a little bit, Mr. Pike?
Yes, when we're instructed on a new matter, if it's a new client, there's a new client indent made. If it's an existing client, then we simply open up a client file indent, and that's simply an accounting process which is put through our accounts department.
And the file number which was opened, obviously we can see the 730 on the attendance note of the 13th of May, but I think there was also a code 8085, is that correct?
The 8085 number is the client number, and the 730 is the file number.
Thank you. So 8085 relates, we can see that, it relates to NGN, we can see that at the top left-hand side. Now the attendance note of the 13th of May 2010 was not dictated by reference RXC until I think the 14th of June.
That's correct.
Yeah. Do you know why that was?
Probably because she was very busy doing other matters.
Now we have a printout of a document which indicates that the attendance note of the 13th of May was typed up on the 15th of June, and the total typing time was 8 hours and 16 minutes. Do you have that document?
I think it reads 6 hours and 16 minutes.
Sorry, 6 hours and 16 minutes.
6 hours to type this document?
Well,
it's 8 pages long. It sounds rather a long time.
I think it may be because the document's open on the screen for length time. Doesn't mean actual typing time.
Oh, I see.
So the typist may have been doing other things, but the moment the file is open, and that's when the clock starts to run, and when the typing stops, that's when the clock notionally stops, even though it doesn't take 6 hours and 16 minutes to type up a document which even I wouldn't take that long to type up.
Okay.
There's no... I've been asked to put this to you. There's no reference in the attendance note to the alleged relationship between Mark Lewis and Charlotte Harris, is there?
I don't have it in front of me now.
I think you told us that was discussed at the conference, is that right?
It was discussed. Certainly within Council's instructions there was full information provided.
But do you know why there's no reference to it in the attendance note?
I can't say now why, no.
Okay, well thank you very much, Mr. Pike.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Sherborne, this was an issue that you raised, understandably in the light of what we now know. Was there anything that you wanted further to pursue on this topic? I think you're entitled to be given that chance.
So it's simply this, and there may be a very simple explanation for it. Can I ask Mr. Pike the question, rather than put it through you, sir?
Yeah.
Mr. Pike, the other matters we have at the top of the attendance note, we went through the list last time, you'll recall. Can you just explain... The Miller action and the Hoppen action had nothing to do with either Charlotte Harris, Jeremy Reed or Mark Lewis. Can you just explain why it is that they are referred to then in the attendance note?
I think it's only there because Rowena was being perhaps overcautious in ensuring the attendance note went on all the then current open files.
And as far as you're aware, no other complaints had been made against Newsgroup in relation to hacking by June 2010, as it then was?
Well, again, to be absolutely certain of that, I'd obviously need to double check, but I think that is correct, yes.
Well, they may have been made to News International, but they've not come through to you.
That's possible, yes.
I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Pike. I'm sure you can understand why that needed to be resolved.